Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The village lay under a blanket of darkness, its once lush fields now withered, the air thick with decay. The people had grown pale, their eyes hollow, as though the life was being drained from their very soul. Kale stood at the edge of the dying farmland, his gaze fixed on the distant woods that loomed ominously in the fading light of dusk, the shadowed forest. It had always been a place of legend, a forbidden land whispered about in the tales of elders and travelers. Some said the forest held treasures beyond imagination, while others warned of ancient curses and untold dangers. But none of those tales mattered to Carol. Now his village was dying, and the curse that had befallen his homeland had no cure, at least none that could be found within the knowledge of men. Carol's father, the village elder, had spoken of a distant hope, a magic hidden deep within the shadowed forest, one that might be powerful enough to lift the darkness and save their people. Desperation had led Carol here to this moment, staring into the heart of the cursed wood. "I'll return," he muttered to himself, tightening the worn leather strap of his hunting bow across his chest. His fingers brushed the carved bone of his family, trust hanging around his neck, a small reminder of his responsibility. With a final glance at the dying village behind him, Fael stepped into the shadowed embrace of the forest. The change in atmosphere was immediate. The air turned thick and heavy, the canopy above blotting out what little sunlight remained. The trees were unlike any he had ever seen, towering, gnarled trunks covered in a moss that shimmered faintly with magic. The forest was alive in a way that was both beautiful and terrifying. Every rustle of leaves, every whisper of wind seemed to carry intent, as though the very woods were watching him. Hours passed as Kale moved deeper into the forest, his instincts as a hunter keeping him alert. The deeper he ventured, the more he realized that the legends were true. This was no ordinary forest. Strange markings appeared on the trees, symbols from a time long forgotten. The ground itself seemed to shift beneath his feet, subtle movements as though the earth was breathing. Just as fatigue began to creep into his bones, Carol heard a sound, a low guttural growl, close and threatening. His hand instinctively went to his bow, drawing an arrow as he crouched low to the ground. His eyes scanned the dense undergrowth, heart pounding. The growl came again, closer this time, and suddenly the underbrush parted. A massive wolf, larger than any Carol had ever seen, stood before him. Its fur was black as night, its eyes glowing a haunting green. But what made Carol hesitate wasn't the size or the ferocity of the beast. It was the faint shimmering outline of magic surrounding it. This creature was enchanted. Without warning, the wolf lunged. Carol rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the creature's sharp fang. He sprang to his feet, firing an arrow at the beast, but the arrow seemed to pass through the wolf as though it were made of smoke. The wolf growled again, circling him, its form flickering in and out of reality. Panic surged in Sybil's chest. How could he fight something that wasn't entirely physical? The wolf lunged once more, and Carol raised his arms in defense, bracing for the impact. But instead of the wolf's teeth, a burst of radiant light filled the clearing. The wolf howled in pain, recoiling as the light enveloped it, then vanished into the shadow. Carol blinked, momentarily blinded by the light. When his vision cleared, he saw her, a young woman, her golden hair glowing faintly in the dim light of the forest. She was dressed in the flowing robes of an elf, her hands still raised from casting the spell that had saved his life. "Are you all right?" she asked, her voice soft but firm. Kyle nodded, still catching his breath. I already saw could see anyone else out here. Who are you?" The woman lowered her hands, the light fading from her fingers. "My name is Lena. I am a healer from the Elven Kingdom, and I've been traveling through this forest, searching for something." Kel eyed her warily. He had heard of the elves, their magic and wisdom, but he had never encountered one so far from their land. "A rare herb," Lena replied, glancing around the forest, the one that only grows in the heart of this place. "My people are suffering from a disease, and I believe this herb may be the key to curing them." Kyle hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I am here for something similar. My village is dying, cursed by some dark magic. I was told that the cure could be found in this forest." Lena's eyes softened with understanding. "Freydanic, it seems our paths are aligned then. The forest is dangerous, especially for those who travel alone. Perhaps we can help each other." Kyle nodded, grateful for the offer. Torit agreed. The forest is more treacherous than I expected. I've never seen a creature like that wolf before. Lena frowned. The magic here is old and powerful. It warps the creatures that live within it, turning them into something unnatural. We must be cautious. With their newfound alliance, Cornell and Lena continued their journey deeper into the forest. Lena's magic proved invaluable, not just in protecting them from the dangers of the forest, but also in understanding the strange symbols and traps they encountered along the way. The forest itself seemed to challenge them, testing their resolve at every turn. After a day of navigating through thick undergrowth and avoiding enchanted creatures, they stumbled upon a hidden path, marked by strange glowing runes etched into the trees. The path led them to a small clearing where a stone structure stood ancient and weathered, with vines crawling over its surface. It was a dwarven forge, unmistakably old but still standing strong. I didn't think anyone else had ventured this far into the forest, Theo muttered, his eyes scanning the structure. As they approached the forge, the sound of clanging metal echoed from within. Someone was inside. "Stay back," Bale whispered, drawing his bow as he stepped closer to the entrance. Lena followed cautiously, her hands ready to cast another spell if needed. Inside, they found a dwarf, short, stocky, and covered in soot. He was hammering away at a piece of metal on an anvil, muttering to himself in a language Carl couldn't understand. Carol lowered his bow, recognizing the dwarf's aircraft as non-threatening. "Tarek, who are you?" Tarek asked, stepping forward. The dwarf stopped hammering and turned to face them, his eyes narrowing as he wiped sweat from his brow. "Prancelas the names," he grumbled, his voice deep and gravelly. "And what in the blazes are a human and an elf doing out here in the middle of the shadowed forest?" Researching for a cure, Crosat. Carry for a curse that's befallen my village. And I am looking for a rare herb. Lamangana. Rum grunted, eyeing them both suspiciously. Seems everyone got their reasons for being out here. As for me, I am hunting for rare metals. The veins in this forest are unlike any I've seen. I've been stuck here for weeks, working on something special. Stuck? Kyle asked, raising an eyebrow. "AI," Brahman replied, scratching his beard. "Try this forest ain't tea like the outside world. It plays tricks on you, paths shift, creatures appear out of nowhere. It's a nightmare, I tell ya." But he tapped the metal on his anvil. "There's magic here too, strong magic if you know how to work it. You can create things that no one else can." Lena glanced at Carell, a silent understanding passing between them. Brahm's craftsmanship might just be what they needed to survive the rest of the journey. "How about it?" Carol asked. "Join us, we could use your skills, and maybe we can help you find a way out of here." Looked them over a long moment, then let out a sigh. "Fine, but don't you expect me to be your bodyguard? I am here for the medal and that Senate." With Brahm now part of their group, they pressed on into the forest, each of them bringing their unique skills to the table. Brumam's knowledge of metal and traps saved them from several dangerous situations, while Lena's healing magic kept them alive when the forest creatures proved too much for Carol Sarrow. As the days passed, they ventured deeper into the forest, facing trials that tested their strength, wit, and trust in each other. The shadowed forest seemed to be alive, reacting to their presence, challenging them at every turn. Eventually, they came upon a vast clearing. At its center stood a massive tree, its bark dark as night, its branches twisted and gnarled. The air around it shimmered with magic, and Krill felt an overwhelming sense of both awe and dread. "The Tree of Shadows," Lena whispered. But before they could approach the tree, the ground trembled, and from the shadows emerged a figure of forest. Arden, its body made of wood and stone, towering over them with glowing green eyes. "You seek the heart of the forest," the warden boomed, its voice echoing through the trees. "Here, but only those who understand its true nature may pass." The forest warden loomed above them, its eyes glowing with an ancient wisdom that seemed to penetrate their very soul. Kale tightened his grip on his bow, but Lena gently placed a hand on his arm, signaling him to lower it. She stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the warden. "We seek not to harm the forest," Lena said, her voice calm but firm. "We come seeking healing for ourselves and for our people." The warden's glowing eyes flickered, its stone mouth unmoving, as it responded in a voice that seemed to come from the forest itself. The forest knows your intentions. It feels the weight of your desires. But to take from the forest is to risk losing oneself. Only those who understand its balance will leave unscathed. Lena nodded, stepping closer to the massive tree that stood at the heart of the clearing. We do not seek to take without giving. The curse that plagues the land is a reflection of our disharmony with nature. We seek to restore that balance. Kale felt the tension in his chest ease as Lena spoke. Her words resonated with something deep within him, a truth that he had felt growing stronger as they ventured deeper into the forest. This place was not evil, not cursed in the way they had once believed. It was ancient, powerful, and protective, but only to those who respected its law. Brown, standing a few paces behind them, snorted softly. To respect the forest all you want, but that thing looks ready to crush us if we take a wrong step. The warden shifted slightly, the creaking of wood and the grinding of stone echoing in the clearing. Its gaze turned to Carol. Hunter, it said, trying your hands have taken life from the forest many times. How do you now seek to heal what you once destroyed? Carol hesitated, feeling the weight of the warden's words settle heavily on him. He had always seen himself as a protector, defending his village and providing for his people through the hunt. But now, in the heart of this ancient place, he realized that his role as a hunter had also brought destruction. The balance that the warden spoke of was not just about taking what one needed, it was about understanding the consequences of those actions. I've been taken from the forest. Carl admitted, his voice steady but filled with regret. But I've never taken more than I needed, and I've always respected the lives I've taken. I came here because I thought the answer lay in finding something, some object or magic that could cure my people. But now I see that the real cure is not in taking more, but in giving back. The warden seemed to consider Carol's words, the glow of its eyes dimming slightly. Words alone will not save you. You must prove your understanding of the balance. Without warning, the warden raised one massive arm, and the ground beneath them trembled. Vines burst from the earth, wrapping around Carolina and Brown, pulling them to the ground. Kefil struggled against the vines, but the more he fought, the tighter the vines became. Lena's voice broke through the tension. Stop struggling, Kyle. The forest is testing us. Carol gritted his teeth, forcing himself to relax, despite the pressure of the vines constricting around his limb. The moment he stopped resisting, the vines loosened their grip slightly, though they did not release him. The warden, Sal's voice echoed again, softer this time. To understand the forest, you must become part of it. Only then will you find what you seek. As the warden spoke, Carol felt a strange sensation wash over him. The vines seemed to pulse with life, their magic flowing into his skin. His mind, filled with images of the forest, of the countless lives that lived within it, the trees, the animals, the streams, and the wind. Each element was connected, a delicate web of life and death, creation and destruction, all in perfect balance. For the first time, Carol truly understood the curse that had fallen on his village wasn't just a punishment. It was a reflection of their disconnection from the natural world. They had taken too much, demanded too much from the land without giving back, and now they were paying the price. Beside him, Lena and Brum were silent, their expressions peaceful as they too seemed to experience the same understanding. The forest magic wasn't just about power or control, it was about harmony. The vines slowly uncoiled from around them, retreating back into the earth. The warden watched them for a long moment before speaking again. You have seen the truth. The forest will grant you passage, but only if you carry this knowledge with you. The cure you seek lies not in a single object, but in your understanding of the balance between life and death, creation and destruction. Carolina and Brim stood slowly, their bodies aching, but their minds clear. The warden stepped aside, revealing the path to the tree of shadow. The ancient tree towered above them, its bark black as night, its branches stretching out like the arms of some great creature. At its base, a pool of water shimmered, glowing faintly with the same magic that pulsed through the forest. This is it, Lena whispered, stepping forward cautiously, hurried the heart of the forest. Hale followed her, his gaze fixed on the tree. He could feel the power radiating from it, an ancient force that seemed to hum in the air around them. This was the source of the curse and the cure, the balance. Lena knelt beside the pool, her hands hovering above the water. This is what I came for. The herbs I need grow here, fed by the magic of the tree. Bram stepped forward, eyeing the pool with a mix of awe and caution. There, and you re-sure this is gonna work? Lena nodded. It will, but it won't be easy. Magic here is strong, and it's tied to the forest. Sense. Well, we have to be careful not to disrupt the balance. Keel knelt beside her, his hand resting on the hilt of his dagger. Terror, what do we need to do? Lena took a deep breath, her eyes focused on the shimmering water. We need to take only what we need, no more. If we disturb the balance, the curse could grow stronger. With that, Lena carefully reached into the pool, her fingers brushing the surface of the water. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the water began to ripple and tiny green shoots emerged from the depths, glowing with a faint light. Lena gently plucked one of the herbs from the water, holding it up to the light. This is it, the cure. Carol felt a surge of relief wash over him, but he remained cautious. Let's not linger here. We've got what we came for. It's Sierra's time to go. Rum grunted in agreement. I don't really fancy sticking around to see what else this place has in store. They gathered their things and began the journey back, the forest seeming to part for them as they made their way toward the edge. The magic that had once felt threatening now seemed to guide them, as if the forest itself was acknowledging their understanding. As they reached the edge of the shadowed forest, Carol looked back one last time. The darkness that had once filled him with fear now felt like an old friend. He had come seeking a cure, but he was leaving with something far more valuable: knowledge of the balance that governed not just the forest, but all life. The village was waiting for them when they returned. The people, pale and sickly, gathered at the edge of the dying fields, their eyes filled with hope as they saw Carolina and Brum approach. Kara didn't speak, he didn't need to. Lena stepped forward, holding out the herbs she had gathered from the heart of the forest. The villagers watched in awe as she began to prepare the cure, her magic weaving through the plants, bringing them to life. In time, the curse that had plagued the village began to lift. The land slowly returned to its former glory, the crops growing green and strong once more. The people grew healthier, their strength returning as the dark magic faded. Carol stood at the edge of the village, watching as the sun set over the horizon. Lena and Brum stood beside him, their journey complete. The balance has been restored, Lena said softly, her gaze fixed on the distant forest apile. But it's fragile. It's set up to us to maintain it. Carol nodded, his hand resting on the carved bone necklace around his neck. Tail will remember. The shadowed forest loomed in the distance, its secrets still hidden, its power still immense. But Carol no longer feared it. He understood it now, and with that understanding came peace.